Good morning or good afternoon, Tigers. This week we'll be doing Quizzette 708. Please make sure that you write your last name, comma, first name. As always, I abbreviate that. You know what that means. Please make sure you write today's date and that you circle your class color. Today I'll be blue. Let's look at Monday's number 1. Monday number 1 says, an airplane on autopilot took 5 hours to travel 3,475 kilometers. These are our units, so we circle our units always when we're annotating in math. Here's the question. What is the unit rate for kilometers per hour? Unit rate is one of our key terms. We took notes on this last week on page 12. So please make sure that when you have a question that involves unit rate, that you are following the instructions specified on Math Notes page 12. So our question says, what is the unit rate for kilometers per hour? Kilometers per hour. The question tells us that the airplane flew 3,475 kilometers, km, in 5 hours. According to our notes, this would be considered the rate. So when we're calculating our unit rate and we have our fraction, in your notes it has a hint. And it says that when we are calculating unit rate involving fractions, the denominator has to reduce to 1. And the way we reduce this rate into a 1 is we divide our 3,475 kilometers by the amount of hours we have. In this case, we have 5 hours, so we would divide 5 into 3,475. On your paper, please calculate the amount of kilometers traveled per hour. I will give you a few seconds. So if you calculated correctly, you should have gotten 695 as your result. But 695, now you have to ask yourself what that means. Is it asking, or 695 kilometers or hours? It is obviously our kilometers, because that is going to be our numerator on our fraction, 695. And our numerator is our 1. Now, if you remember the hint on page 12 of your math notes, it says that when we are calculating a unit rate and reducing, the denominator will be 1, and the numerator will be the amount that we're trying to calculate for. So 695 kilometers for 1 hour. Now you would write a complete sentence. The airplane travels 695 kilometers per hour. I don't have room to write it, but please write what I say. The airplane travels 695 kilometers per hour. The SMP that we are using here would be SMP 1, persevering through problem solving, or SMP 6, which is attend to precision, maybe even SMP 3, because you're constructing an argument by representing your math and calculating the unit rate. Please make sure you write the number and the actual wording of the SMP. Now we're moving on to number 2. Number 2 says find the unit rate. And as always, I'm going to circle the key term. So here is my key term, unit rate. And outside of the unit rate circle, you can write something like price for 1 unit, as a little hint to yourself. You're given a unit rate already. Not a unit rate, you're given a rate. And the rate is 18 push-ups in 3 days. 18 push-ups in 3 days. And you're trying to find the missing piece, which is the amount of push-ups per 1 day, or per day. So our given ratio, we're given a rate, but we're going to turn that into a ratio. So our ratio would be 18 push-ups for every 3 days. Now we can simplify this fraction or reduce. there's a number that goes into both of these fractions, and that's 3 and 3. 3 over 3 is just one whole, so we can always manipulate fractions and simplify them by wholes. So 3 goes into 18 6 times. 3 goes into 3 1 time. Now if you remember your hint on page 12 of your math notes, it specifies that when you have a rate written as a fraction, the way you calculate unit rate is by having a denominator of 1. Now 1, what does that represent? Push-ups or days? In this case, it represents days, and our numerator represents the amount of push-ups you do for the amount of days. So the blank would therefore be 6 push-ups per day. Now, if you were asking me what SMP I'm using right now that I can defend, is SMP 6, because I'm being very precise with my units. I am making sure that I am writing push-ups on the numerator and that I'm writing days on the denominator. That shows me as your teacher that you understand the computation that you are making. Therefore, I would write SMP 6, attend to precision. Number 3 says, David uses 1/4 cup of apple juice for every half of carrot juice to make a fruit drink. So what I would do is I would annotate and circle my units. Underline key information. Then the question says, what is the number of cups of apple juice David uses for 1 cup of carrot juice? So our goal is to make 1 full cup of carrot juice. So we have 1/4 cup of apple juice. So let's say we have a cup and we divide it into fourths. We use 1/4 cup of apple juice for every half a cup of carrot juice. So if I want to double the amount of carrot juice I have, I also have to double the amount of apple juice that I have. So if I want 1 cup of carrot juice, I add 1/2 to 1/2. That is equivalent to 2 over 2, which is 1 whole, and that's our 1 cup. And that was our goal. But if I double the amount of apple juice that I have 1/4 plus 1/4, and that equals to 2/4, and when I reduce that, that is equivalent to 1/2. So for every 1 cup of carrot juice, I need half a cup of apple juice. So here you would write a sentence like, David uses half a cup of apple juice for every cup of carrot juice to make the fruit drink. Sorry about that interruption. I didn't specify before in the Quizzette video that I'm actually recording this Quizzette video in one of my classes, so the little noises you hear are because children are loud. So it says, David uses half a cup of apple juice for every cup of carrot juice to make the fruit drink. So here, the obvious SMP that you're using is SMP 4, although I will also accept SMP 1, I will also accept SMP 6, SMP 7, and maybe even SMP 8. As long as you can argue your SMP, I will accept it. Another thing I want you guys to notice is that on Tuesday, number 1, it says explain what unit rate is and why it is useful. If you look at Math Notes page 12, that'll help you with that. Number 2 is the same every day, and number 3, every day after this is fairly simple. You don't even have to draw a picture. If you do draw a picture, that is good though. Then, if you notice, there is no Quizzette reflection on this Quizzette. The reason for that is because on Friday, after we're done grading, I will give you a little sheet for your Quizzette reflection. We didn't have room on this Quizzette. Thank you, Tigers. Have a good day.